Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to head back into natural selection, and we're going to talk about a few examples of natural selection. Just a few that we kind of recently ran over. If you guys remember our rock pocket mice, we had two mice. We had one that was the white color, and the white color is best for sand. And then we had some that was the dark color, and that one was for the volcanic rock. Volcanic rock. And depending on where you lived as that mouse, right, if you lived in the sand, it was more beneficial for you to go ahead and to be a white colored mice so that you were able to have that camouflage from predators, right? If you happen to be the wrong color in the wrong situation, you would not be able to survive. So therefore, the predators work with natural selection in order to go ahead and in order to pick which animals are going to be able to survive. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to answer a couple of Punnett Square questions. Okay, so it says in dragons, fire breathing is dominant to non-fire breathing. So non-fire breathing is recessive. Complete a Punnett Square that crosses a heterozygous male with a homozygous recessive female. Okay, so some things that you have to remember is heterozygous means that you have both, right? You have one capital, so you have one dominant, so this is a dominant trait, and you have one recessive, right? So this is going to be one lowercase. Sorry, I kind of wrote that backwards. So in this case, it would be this, right? Homozygous, so homo means the same, right? And homozygous recessive means that we have two lower cases. So we have that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cross those dragons on there, right? So this is what my Punnett Square would go ahead and what would it look like, right? And they say, what are the phenotypes of the offspring? So we have fire breather and non-fire breather. And the why I know that is that I know that fire breathing is dominant, right? And so if you have even one capital F, you are able to go ahead and if you're able to fire breathe. My genotypes are going to be my letters. So I have two of these, which is little f, right? What percentages have the dominant phenotype? That would be 50%. So that would be these guys right here. Which ones have the recessive phenotypes? It's these ones right here. So that would be 50%, right? So those are some of the things on there. Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about why there is variations in organisms, right? So there are a couple of things, right? So we have mutations that go ahead and that happen, right? Some of it can be due to environmental factors. Others can be go ahead and this can be due to heredity or DNA copying mistakes. Right, so those are a couple of ways that we can have those different mutations. Okay, the next way is to go ahead and it's to describe crossing over. Okay, so in crossing over, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this one. So we have two chromosomes. I'm going to have my green chromosome that looks something like this. And then I'm going to have a blue chromosome that looks something like this. And what will happen is during meiosis, these two chromosomes, they get close enough together that they go ahead and that they swap, right, the ends of their DNA. So what will happen is that after crossing over, my blue one is going to go ahead and it's going to look something like this. And then this one's going to have little pieces of blue, and then the rest will be green. Okay, so what's going to happen is that our chromosomes are basically going to go ahead and they're going to switch up some of the colors that they have so that you will see that this one has points of blue and this one has points of green. So that's what crossing over does, is that we're going ahead and we're trading pieces of DNA. So, base pairing rules. I'm going to go through this really quickly because I know people know this. This is DNA to DNA. So A goes with T, T goes with A, G always goes with C, and C always goes with G, right? If we're talking about DNA to RNA, and then make sure that you guys are reading these questions carefully, right? A goes with U, T goes with A, U goes with A, right? G goes with C, whoa. G goes with C, and C goes with G, right? So, next thing is central dogma of biology, right? So, this is kind of some of the stuff that we talked about earlier. We have to go ahead, whoa, cool. We have to go ahead and we have to talk about what we go ahead and what we do. So in the central dogma of biology, we're going from DNA to RNA to protein, right? And there are a couple of processes that go ahead and that happen so that we're able to go ahead and that we're able to get this, right? So in order to go ahead and go from DNA to RNA, we have transcription, right? And to go from RNA to protein, we have translation. So those are our things on there, right? And then the next thing is how are proteins responsible for us having different traits, right? So proteins, pretty much what happens is that proteins go ahead and they make up the different traits that we have in our body, right? So proteins are made to express traits, So for example, right, if you guys have like a green-eyed protein, right, you're going to express the green-eye trait. So green eye protein expresses a green eye trait. So that's how that works. So there, for every protein, there's like a specific trait that goes ahead and that goes along with it. Okay, so how are proteins responsible for different types of cells? So what happens is that all cells have the same DNA. So what will go ahead and what will happen is that we are going ahead and that we are expressing different portions of the DNA, right? Express of DNA. And what will happen is that since we're expressing different portions of the DNA, different proteins that are going ahead and that are being expressed will go ahead and will create some of those different cells. So different proteins that are expressed will make different cells. So if you guys think about it, so the different things that are required to go ahead and to make a muscle cell will go ahead and will be expressed in a muscle cell, right? So muscle cell genes will be expressed in a muscle cell. So those are a few things to kind of go ahead and to kind of think about, okay? So levels of organization, just real quickly, we have cell, we have tissue, we have organ system, and organism. Okay, so those are each of our different levels of organization. I'm going to come back with homeostasis in a sec.